So today we'll be covering the topic of building neurological pathways to success. It's kind of a term that we use in jiu-jitsu, but it's basically just building habits by doing something over and over and over again. A lot of teachers do it in different ways. So there's a lot of different ways you can build neurological pathways. It's a lot like muscle memory, but for your mind. And how to do that is basically taking a process and breaking it down into steps. What do you have to do for this step? What do you have to do for this step? What do you have to do for this step? And then going back, this step leads into this step leads into this step, and why. And figuring out all those paths between that, and when you plug them all together, it's a neurological pathway for your brain, and it instinctively does the move or does what it needs to when this happens or this happens. You can see these things before they happen. It's like when someone's doing a setup on you, like you said. I think we're about 2 months in to rolling together, and you're like, I know you're set up for an arm bar now. I know when to pull my arm out because I set up my arm bars similar each way. We had a teacher with one of our affiliate schools come down. He was from Flagstaff, and he was one of the best teachers I've ever seen at doing this. He actually just broke down, it sounds simple, but a guard pass. And he just took step by step and why he was doing, even little things of how his toes were positioned on the mat and why he was pushing himself forward, or like he was really good at explaining everything. And I personally learned really good from that teaching. That's not necessarily how you have to do it. A lot of our other coaches do all the steps at once, and you just running through those steps over and over and over again is how they build the neurological pathway. Where Carlos, he would basically take just the first step, break it down really, really detailed, and then just do that step. So it's just literally setting the knee up and getting the leg over to the knee. That's it. He just wanted to watch everyone do that and break down all their methods of doing that and make sure that everyone was doing it correctly. And then he would move to the next thing, and by the end of it, you're doing a submission, or you're doing flaw flu choke. And at the beginning you're like, oh, this is boring, this is just guard pass. But at the end of it, you're like really solidly doing a submission that if you had just ran through it really quickly, you likely wouldn't get that submission. So I kind of thought, like, this is how you build it in jiu-jitsu. You can do the same thing with success. I think pretty much every self-help book you read is going to cover somewhat of your morning routine. So that's a good place to start building a neurological pathway to success. How you wake up, what you're eating when you wake up, if you're drinking caffeine or not. I recently just quit drinking caffeine. I haven't seen a dramatic change in my life, but I don't have to wake up with caffeine anymore. I'm not dependent on it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like.
It's different. I think the more beneficial part is I'm not getting that and then just like drop.
Right.
It's more like steady. I don't know.
It was interesting that you brought up this topic because I'm what's the name of the book? Joe Dispenza. I always forget the titles of these damn books. The book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and it says that 90% of your consciousness is your body's basic muscle memory. What you're doing each and every single day is built into your body, and then your conscious mind can affect it, but most of what you do is on autopilot. One of the analogies that he gave was like a mother's driving her car or whatever, and the kid starts spitting up or something like that, and automatically she grabs the wipe and cleans the baby's face off, and everything's good, situated, gives the bottle back, everything's good. Well, when the mom first tried to do that, it was all clumsy, she didn't know what she was doing, but now she's done it so many times, she can perform that task on autopilot just as she's driving down the road. You know what I mean? It's and when you start fighting against what your normalcy is, the normal things that you do each and every day, when you start fighting against those, your unconscious body, your mind is your subconscious body, or your subconscious body is the primary driver of your habits. When you start trying to reprogram that, it fights you. Sure. And like what you were saying with your morning habits, you get up, brush your teeth, get dressed, make your cup of coffee. Well, you don't make your cup of coffee, and make the bed, and then start working. I do that every single morning. They say that is a big part of the habits of wealthy people. What you do in the morning sets up your platform for success through the day. But as you're talking about this in jiu-jitsu, I'm sitting here thinking, because I'm trying to figure out a way to put my systems together in my company that let me bring more people in to be able to leverage their efforts and get more deals flowing through the door. When I first heard somebody saying something about building a team, like, I have no clue how to do that in a real estate application. Is in the electrical world all day long, easy, second nature. Yeah, I was on coast doing it all the time. Now I'm sitting here putting together, like, man, I really need to apply what you're saying. So I need to start working on Podio first thing in the morning, so that way I have these 3 different applications that I can run for cold callers and everybody else. And I need to know how to run through Podio second nature. That's a goal that I have to achieve.
Sure.
So I'm just saying this full application here. So what I need to do is I need to wake up first thing in the morning, change my habits a little bit, wake up first thing in the morning, and go through the steps of Podio. Do it again on Tuesday, do it again on Wednesday, do it again on Thursday, do it again on Friday. And Anna was the one that sat down and showed me all this stuff, and she said it looks really complicated now. It doesn't, and she's like, but now at a glance, I just blast through this one lead, and it's completely taken care of. Move off my to-do list. And anything that you're doing, right? Anything that you're doing, you need to take the steps to create the habit, building the neural pathways to it being an automatic success tool that you have, right?
Absolutely. And like that's 100% correct. The reason why Carlos is teaching that way, because a lot of these teachers, they have a lot of blue belt students, purple, brown belt students that, yeah, maybe you don't have to explain that stuff to them because they already do that. They already posture up straight and all that, and they know why. But the white belts don't. And Carlos is teaching everyone in that class, and he's teaching them why they're doing this, and there is a purpose to this. So he's building the thought process of why you're actually sitting up, why you're actually pushing forward on your toes. And you know jiu-jitsu. Anyone who's done jiu-jitsu, everything you do, there's a counter to what you do. And that's the same thing in life. There's a positive and negative. You can take anything in life and there's a positive and negative to it, and you just have to decide which one's more positive and be prepared for the reaction out of everything. And that's why I relate jiu-jitsu to life so much, is because there's just so many lessons in jiu-jitsu that I think you can apply to business, to relationships, to everything. Jiu-jitsu just can connect to life that way because it's hard. But he's teaching that way because the white belts don't know these things yet. They haven't learned these things yet. And even some of the blue belts, they've done them so many times, they got sloppy with them because they think they know. Me particularly, like, I always knew I was on my toes when I'm in the guard. I'm always got that in case, so someone can't just push me back. So I have that forward pressure. But I was a little bit sloppier on my hand positioning, on where I was putting my hands to keep them down so I could get that elbow into pass. And he corrected me a little bit. And it's just something that honestly I've just done forever, and I just got a little sloppy at it. It wasn't that I didn't know what to do or why to do it. I was just getting sloppy because it's kind of boring or something to me. But it was that little correction was setting up the submission way down the road that I wasn't even realizing, that building that neurological pathway to do it right the entire way was setting up the submission that I wasn't seeing yet. And that's, I mean, I don't know what you're doing with Podio and all that, but I mean, it's a good place to start.
That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to set up the submission, set up the close, set up having more people helping me get more deals.
And that's, like, I have a teacher. You might have to research to get that information, like you're doing one little thing wrong on Podio or something that's going to make it way easier to get to that submission than you ever realized.
But the thing about it is too, though, is I do have resources. I do have teachers. Anna, I just hit her up. Hey, can I come watch you on Podio? She's like, sure, absolutely. Like 12:45, she's like, sure. And showed up and she walked me through it, and then we hung out for a little bit, and I get some more insight into how Pace does his company. It's really. I met with a guy the other day on, so he's going to be a cold caller for me, and I was like, dude, everything that I've done so far, it all comes down to one thing, one key thing. All you have to do is ask. So just the little things in life that you don't know how to do, you're going to continue not knowing how to do unless you ask. And that's the first thing to everything. And as far as building the neurological pathways to success and making things actually start happening, ultimately what you're talking about is building little machines that just, you push the button and it just automatically takes its path and is done.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about building a machine as in a company that develops revenue for me, and I don't have to do anything but just, push a couple buttons here and there, maybe it gets to the point where this thing just branches off and I have a whole other person running it for me and it cash flows for me. That's ultimately the ultimate goal, and I want to do that a bunch of times. But in order to build that machine, I have to build a bunch of small machines. The next small machine that I have to build is Podio. I got 3 features that I need to learn. Super easy. What do I do? Tomorrow morning I start doing it.
Yeah.
People have, and I'm not any kind, like I look at Pace, Jesse Burrell, Max Jimenez, Steve Trang. I look at all these guys are like super next level, and there's a lot of other people in different arenas that I'm in as well. Chris Iman's phenomenal. He's so relaxed, wearing flip-flops, t-shirt and some shorts, dude, to eat lunch with me. And the guy does 30 wholesale deals a month. And you're averaging $5,000 to $10,000 a deal. You can imagine what that is, and that's just one part of his business. Anyways, there's so many phenomenal people. I'm not that great. The thing that's even making me even talk like this right now is people have been reaching out to me lately, which is interesting, thinking that I'm killing it. And because the fact that a lot of people don't even get a deal in their first year, it's super tough to do. It's really, in my first 4 months, I didn't think I was ever even going to get a deal. You start, and then finally you push through it. Anyways, everything becomes easier and easier and easier. The way that I've been able to even get to the point where I'm at, which isn't that substantial yet. I'm very, very small potatoes. I haven't even been able to get close to replacing my income yet. Is I take the action to build the little machine.
Yeah.
And you just quantifying it by saying the neurological pathways to success. That's a really, really, that blends in with the book, the Joe Dispenza book that I'm on right now, which is phenomenal. Melissa Lutman forwarded that to me. Thank you so much. And what's the next machine? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In your life, seriously, like, what's the next machine I need to build?
Yeah.
And then figure out the little steps. Me learning Podio, I could just ask some more questions. I could sit there and figure it out. I could do the webinar, I could do the training, just go through it. And it was astounding to me that the other day I had John Berger in here and showing him how I do all my SMS. And literally the information that I had to build my whole entire SMS system was, here's the place that you should source your leads from. Here's a username and password that you can use for a while until it expires. And here's where you're going to skip trace. And then I had to find a platform to run the SMS from. Okay, so that's all I knew. And now I had John in here, and I think it was his son. Forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. And walk through the whole entire process in about an hour and a half, or something like that. I'm like, wow, this is really, there's a lot to this. You know what I mean? And what I did there is I created a small machine, and now I could continue to refine that machine. The same thing with you're talking about in your guard pass. Okay, so maybe this little detail I need to shift so I get a better deliverability. There's, or maybe I tweak the message so it gets more responsive. People see that as more of a friendly, non-threatening type of, stuff like that. But that's literally what you're doing, is you could create one little machine, and then you create another little machine, then you create another little machine, then you create another little machine, and next thing you know, you got a machine of machines making stuff happen for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Then you build another one.
Yeah, I was super impressed with the way that he broke it all down. I've known that that's how you learn in jiu-jitsu for a long time, is just building neurological pathways. It's how I taught you, how I teach people. I teach people how to beat me. That's just how I teach. But it's crazy. There's just so many different avenues that you can go down.
Let's talk about that a second. So you were the first one, and I was in jiu-jitsu for 3 years. I would like to go back, but I'm just afraid that I'm going to take more tendon damage. Anyways, because you get carried away.
You do.
It is what it is. You were the first one to teach me how to beat you. And when you taught me how to beat you, now you're forcing yourself to get better. So let's think about that a second. So if you teach somebody, like in real estate, if you teach somebody to beat you, you're forcing yourself to get better.
Absolutely. And
it's not like you're teaching them something and then all of a sudden you're like fucked because they're way heavier competition.
That's another thing in jiu-jitsu. My first, he wasn't my instructor, but my first person mentor, I guess you would say, in jiu-jitsu was David. And he taught me, and I did this a lot in life with electrical and everything. Literally when I started, he's like, you're going to tap out a lot, dude. You're going to get beat a lot. You're a white belt. You just get used to it. But what you can do is allow yourself to be put in bad situations over and over and over again until you get comfortable in bad situations. Put yourself in areas that you know that you're probably going to tap out anyways, but let them take your back. They're going to take your back anyways because you can't stop them. But let them take your back and get comfortable with someone being on your back. Get comfortable with someone trying to choke you. And eventually, once you're comfortable with it, you're going to find out that you can submit someone when they have your back. I know this isn't a jiu-jitsu podcast or anything, but I mean, literally, you can cross their ankles and pop their ankle. But everyone's so freaked out right away when they're a white belt that they just freak out and they just stay consistently freaking out rather than just calm. Once you get comfortable in bad situations and you realize you can overcome, whether you submit them, whether you get out of that situation, whether you get back to their guard, I mean, you just realize that nothing in life is, or in jiu-jitsu or anything, everything can be overcome. It's just how you approach it is how you overcome it.
The interesting thing is, like, this is kind of a big lesson for me today, and I'm thinking about it. One of the main things that you taught me that made me substantially better faster is when we first started rolling, is I came out fucking flying out the gate trying to kill you.
Yep.
And I'd lose every time. And I'd gas faster. I'd put myself in bad situations faster. And you told me to just calm down and slow down and wait for my opportunities. That alone has led to you being tapped by me many, many times. Maybe twice. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
it's quite a few times. My ratio is probably I tap him 1 to every time 10 times he taps me. But that right there gave me so much more comfort. So it was easier. I wasn't freaking out about anything. Like, I didn't have to pay attention so much to what people were doing. I could feel what you were doing. And even if I got into a bad position and you go to submit me, I know that right when you open up to submit me, that's when I have the opportunity to escape and counter, and just a lot of things like that just crap. I mean, I think I even submitted you with the leg bar a couple times. I didn't even know how to do that. You taught me how to do it, and I still get you with it. It's not an easy thing to get, and you just it's like what are they expecting? The thing about it is, the way I apply that to myself now is, we were talking about with the Mechanism Mindset, we were talking about bringing in investors, building a bigger team on the development side, and hitting the ground running and trying to get our entire thing completely 100% by the beginning of the year for New Year's resolutions, because it'd be a perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah.
We sat on that for a couple weeks and then came back, or a week, came back and figured, I was figuring this is the same application. That's probably not the wisest thing for us to do. Let's keep going at the same pace we are and have a clean product and learn our mistakes at a small level.
Yep.
Instead of taking a big freaking punch in the face and decimating our company. Because if we come out with this app and it does everything that we want it to do, but we have some gaps in there that could get exploited that we don't know about, and we're doing it on a large scale, it could destroy us.
Absolutely.
And not that it's a fear thing, it's just like, let's come out slow, and we have it in place. We have that recognition throughout the year, because we could do this. We could launch for February 15th. We could launch for the beach bodies for summer. There's so many different things all the way through the entire year that we could still launch for. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, is you think a company like Pace, and I think about Pace's company a lot. The beginning of the year when he first started talking to me, it was him and Anna. He was a HomeVestor franchise owner, so he got lead sources from HomeVestor, which I think he was saying he paid like $15,000 a month, and then they sent him leads, and he ultimately figured out that their leads were more expensive than the deals that he was getting, so it wasn't working out. Something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And brought in Cody to do the SMS. So he was just a guy that he linked up with that had deals on his SMS, but he wasn't able to close the deals. This is the way I understood the story. And from there, we're talking, so that's the same time I started. That's February of this year. To right now, I'm at the level that I'm at, which is fine. I'm in good shape. Pace, on the other hand, has like a team of like 15 people.
It was just him and Anna at the beginning.
Right. Yeah. And I was at their office. He has like, I don't even know how many offices. It's like 10 or 12 offices down the hallway. And he's doing phenomenally well. I think he got like, I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he said 17 subject twos this month or something like that.
Jeez.
Which is phenomenal. You know what I mean? So it's not but how do you get that? You build your small pieces and then put another piece to it, and then build another small piece and put that piece to it. Put another small, you know what I mean? Small machines creating the bigger machine. And I think that Pace has done a great job so far. And I like his model. It's not, if anything turns, he can adjust pretty quickly, and everybody makes really good money working with him. So me personally, working on building those machines, I don't have the system in place, because if I try to put that many people on right now, I'm hurting cats, and I'm going to fall apart. So just anything that you're going to do. I know we just talked to Carlos Portillo. He told us about his experience with the 1 Year Club, and I know he's looking for next things to do.
Yeah.
What's the next move for him? Because I don't think he wants to stay in the electrical industry much longer either. And not that it's a bad thing. It's just everybody outgrows things after a certain time. It just depends on what it is. Some people don't ever outgrow it, whatever. But here's where you start. And then, like, when I was talking to you, I'm talking to you guys earlier, I said, just come to the real estate investment clubs. Just show up, see what they have to say. And that's just a good spot to even start your momentum from. It doesn't even have to be real estate, because we're applying this to MechanismMindset, which is totally not real estate, not even remotely close to it, but definitely can be related to it.
That one's so crazy though, because like I'm saying, like, I have Carlos and Gilbert, and I have all these teachers for jiu-jitsu, and you have people that you can reach out to Podio. Like, the Mechanism Mindset thing is so, like, on its own. Like, we don't have something to learn off of. And that's kind of why I'm glad you're wanting to take it a little bit slower. Just, I don't think any of us really know 100%.
We don't know what we're doing.
I mean, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I have 100% faith that we'll figure it out.
Honestly, when we started talking about this in March? Was it March? To right now, huge. We've gotten extremely far.
And that's the other thing is, like, so if you're wanting to build a neurological pathway or anything, you first have to step on that mat.
Right.
Like, we'd be nowhere with the Mechanism Mindset or anything like that if we didn't actually start doing something. So a lot of people, they have all these ideas and stuff, and they just, Joe Mills for the longest time was like, you have all these ideas, you have all these things. He's like, just pull a trigger on one of them, dude. And it just so happened that you reached out to me at that time, and we were doing the 1 Year Club and everything, and you're like, let's build it into something. I was like, let's do it. But it's just like, it was crazy for the longest time. It's just like, just do something. Because you're not going to build any of those neurological pathways. You're not going to build any of the success in general if you're not doing something. I can't build those neurological pathways in jiu-jitsu if I don't step on that mat. No one's going to want to teach me if I don't step on that mat. No one's going to want to teach you in real estate if you don't get out there in the game. If you don't go to these events, the Phoenix Area, stuff like that.
If I don't ask, nobody's going to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. And conveniently, stepping on that mat in jiu-jitsu is the way of us asking. Yours is a little different game. We don't necessarily have that game with the Mechanism Mindset, but we're figuring it out.
But the thing about it is yet.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that yet.
Yeah.
And I think, maybe I need to start approaching people. I'm just going to leave that whole topic alone for right now.
For sure.
But it's one of those things that could be insanely, massively successful.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could fizzle out and we just adjust and go a different direction. We already have our secondary, so the app is being built in one space right now, at one level right now, and we already have the next 2 steps of development that we're going to add to it once the marketable product is complete.
Yeah.
So as soon as somebody sees our product, we're already still 3 or 4 steps ahead of them.
Yeah. But we gotta stay 3 or 4.
And we've already talked about that. So the money that comes back in is going to stay on development, constant development. And the ultimate goal is to have 2 developers working full time, always moving it to the next level, moving it to the next level, moving it to the next level.
Absolutely.
Is that going to happen next year? Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Is that going to happen 2021? Probably. And as long as what's the biggest mistake any entrepreneur can ever make? That's it. Quit.
Yep.
That's the number one mistake.
See, same thing in jiu-jitsu. What's a black belt? A white belt that never quit.
A white belt that never quit.
It really is what it is. And it's like everything we're talking about is just not quitting.
That's it.
I mean, building those neurological pathways. It's just not quitting. Like, you'll learn the next step eventually if you just don't quit. And eventually every single step is going to connect to each other until it becomes one smooth thing, like cleaning up the baby's face when they spit up and getting the bottle back. It becomes second nature. Like you going to the gym every single day. It's just something you do now.
Something I have to do.
Given that branched out and was stemmed from a mechanism, but it was because you started doing something that you built that into your system.
Yeah, and let's be really clear too on this. There's that saying that you aim for the stars, you hit the moon. So my plan is to compete IFBB next year, either in August or November, depending on where I am, body shape wise. Now, I'm going to come in at a master's division because I'm over 40 years old. So I'm competing against people that are older. It is what it is. I don't want to. I watch these movies, bodybuilders, and they're like, yeah, I didn't do all this hard work to come in second. Me personally, I just want to get on the stage. I don't give a fuck about having a career as a bodybuilder. I just want to get to that level of physique that I can compete. Now, let's put this into perspective. If I'm focused now on a goal like that, which is, I mean, what are we talking about? 1/10 of 1% of the United States population even gets to that level of physique. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And most people have that genetic structure to have that level, or not have that level of physique, but have a really solid level of physique, mm-hmm. but they don't even wash their car or wax their car or do anything to it. The machine that they were given at birth, which is their humanity, and they just fucking squander it all. And you look shredded as fuck in your 20s, but you look like shit in your 30s, and you look even more like shit in your 40s. That's your choice. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so if I'm focusing now, diet, exercise, and everything right now to be able to get on a stage in August, the soonest, November if that doesn't work out, of 2020, what the fuck do you think my body's going to look like? Regardless. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be shredded and I'm going to look in fucking great shape, which I am right now. I can't even take a picture of myself. And here's the thing. Who cares? If you're taking pictures of yourself and you're trying to fucking build yourself, you need to look at the details, right? Mm-hmm. You need to pay attention to the machine that you're building, which this is what I'm building, is a machine. I can't even take a picture of myself that makes me look bad. I'm like, fuck, dude, I look good. You know, and like the thing about it is what you got to understand is, what does that do to your mindset about yourself? Mm-hmm. What does that do?
Builds confidence.
And I'm not saying that if you're out of shape right now, that you should be depressed about it or anything like that, because I was out of shape at the beginning of this year. I think the only before picture I even took was after we'd already had the first mechanism for like 3 or 4 months or so of being in the gym, before I even took my first picture, which I didn't have massive results yet because I was only going to the gym 3 times a week. And it comes down to that whole thing. What is your goal? What are you looking to do? Because if I'm working out right now to be a body, to be able to compete as a freaking professional bodybuilder, potentially, I'm not trying to get a pro card or anything like that. If it happens, great, whatever. But if my goal is to be able to get on stage and not embarrass myself and look good enough to be able to compete on stage, whether I place or not is irrelevant. What the fuck do you think my mindset's going to be? What do you think what I look like, what my body is, my health level? What do you think that's going to create? So what I'm literally doing is I'm aiming for the freaking stars, and I'm already hit the fucking moon. Mm-hmm. So everything that you do in your life, look at it from that perspective. Carlos was just saying earlier, he's like, I know your goals are like to be massively wealthy, so on and so forth. Like, fuck yeah, absolutely. Would I be satisfied if in 5 years from now I'm only worth $1 million or $2 million? Absolutely. It's not multi-million-dollar level, but that's my goal, is multi-million-dollar level. Mm-hmm. What do you think I'm going to wind up hitting? In electrical, you decided that you wanted to be a journeyman, and then you're like, no, I don't want to be a journeyman, I want to be a foreman. Mm-hmm. How little span of time did it take you to become a foreman?
3 years.
3 years. 3 years total in the industry. Most people don't even have their journeyman card, or it could even be considered a journeyman at 3 years. And it's not a phenomenal thing. It's just his goal, and he achieved it. Mm-hmm. One step at a time. One step at a time. And the thing about it is what everybody's got to realize is, I mean, even the interview with Carlos, and I know there's people out there that don't maybe think Carlos isn't shit. He went from never running a job in his entire life. His first job was a hospital medical office building with emergency power, normal power, MRI, CT scanner, four X-rays on it, something like that. Anyways, $3 million plus job, and that fucker pulled it off clean. First job that he ever ran. So it's just a matter of like how you set your goals, what you're looking at, putting everything in perspective for yourself. Obviously, slow down. Mm-hmm. You don't have to become, if you work it. I worked my ass off for 2 years, failing at business after business after business after business venture after business venture, and then I finally found a good vehicle, which is real estate, which is kind of pushed me into an entrepreneurial state. What I did to be able to get to that point is I didn't quit. Mm-hmm. Even though I was just stressed out. I lost $45,000 to the stock market. I thought the stock market was going to be what pulled me out. Mm-hmm. That was 4 years ago? For 2 years, I just kept donating money every day. Might as well have been going to the casino, and
I think your odds are a little bit better on the stock market, but maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe one day it's not going to matter. Like, I'll just have 50 grand that I can just fucking, because that's the thing is you care too much about that money, mm-hmm. and that creates the fear that you can't think solid, make objective decisions because you're emotionally driven.
You're not comfortable.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that, yeah, maybe one day I'll put $50,000. I'll just have, I can fuck it here. Just pull this out of my...
You'll be comfortable with losing $50,000.
Yeah. You'll just build a freaking little thing, just hit those opening bell pops and go. But anyways, slow down, take a breath, take the next step, ask, and build your small machines. You build one machine, and how fast you could build a machine. How fast does it take you to learn the guard pass that you're talking about?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, right. And then perfecting it, you could be perfecting it for years, but that's up to you.
For sure.
How long is it going to take me to adapt to Podio? And I just got to do it. You know what I mean? An hour? I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do it.
I just want it to be... I think about it all the time. I'm just like, man, if I just had somebody that would just do that for me. I don't want to think about it, And you don't. Yet. until you create the system to be able to facilitate that. Yeah, there's nothing out there.
No, and then you said something in there. Just breathe. That was another big thing for me, and I think I taught you too. Like when you're being choked, and you think like that's like the worst case scenario. Like you're in trouble. Like when you're already being choked, right?
Right.
And David taught me, and I've taught you, and like you'd be surprised that you can still breathe while you're being choked. Like just breathe in, and then I taught you the knife, put it in, and just creating that little pocket, and just there's so many things that you can do where you think you're in a situation where you're like, I'm done, this is over, but you can still breathe. And I think that's a big part of life in general. There's plenty of times that you feel like you're in situations where you can't breathe. Like you said, you're stressed out about the market or whatever. And people have terrible things that happen to them in life. I'm not trying to minimize that, but you can always breathe. You can always get over that. And it's just about approaching it intelligently, breathing, and getting your wits back to you. That's all it is.
The funny thing about it is, like say that person that's choking you is your adversity, right? Mm-hmm. Once you get your hand in there, and you can just sit there and you just relax. Yeah, obviously it hurts, but you can breathe. You've opened up that air pocket. You can't do that in UFC because you got gloves on, but you can do that when you're no gi or gi, whatever. Get your hand in there and then just relax. And eventually what happens is your adversity runs out of fucking energy.
Yeah.
And has to reposition, has to do something different, giving you the opportunity to come back out again.
Yep.
And the thing that's funny is a lot of the things, so big 10,000 foot view of real estate. Okay, it starts out like, maybe we should do real estate. Okay, well, how the fuck do I do that? But I start asking questions and like, okay, so now I had no idea how to even do a wholesale deal. Even the first wholesale deal, I was walked through by Pace, and it still made me freaked me out. And then I wound up doing wholesale deals because I didn't have, Pace didn't want to buy the property at the level, so I went and sold it to somebody else, and I actually made $7,000 off it, which was awesome.
Nice.
And that's a kudos to Chris Iman, dude. He helped me out with that a lot. Anyways, nobody walked me through that process at all. Had no clue. I didn't have any support, but I already knew how to do it. And it's just a matter of taking that one little piece. What do you need to know next? I start out with, okay, maybe I should do real estate. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? You know what I mean? And then you get these, what we call fire hose educations, where you ask somebody a question, it's like, blah, like tons and tons and tons of information's hitting you, and you get like a little percentage of it, maybe 5% of what they said. And the interesting thing is if you just kind of keep processing it and just go home and kind of digest, you wind up seeing other things, and then what was said in that fire hose education that you thought you missed actually pops back up into your mind. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you're like, wow, I actually wound up getting about 15% of what they told me when I thought I only had 5%. That makes sense. I could apply that here. And once you apply, like what you're talking about, is I'm showing you how to do the guard pass and applying it. Mm-hmm. Now you know it.
Yeah.
If you just sat there and go like, that's interesting, and then you go in the other room, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas forcing you to go through the motions, doing what you're doing, pushing out, whatever the case is, now that you've applied that, you know it.
Yeah. That's why every jiu-jitsu school starts out with technique and then rolling. Technique, rolling, technique, rolling. It's just, you have to apply it. It's like if you stand there all day and just hit a bag that never hits you back. Yeah, you're getting a workout in, but you're never going to be a good striker.
Right.
You're not. It helps. Doesn't do what you need it to do, though. You have to spar.
You have to spar. Yeah, there you go. There's another one. You have to spar.
That's
You can talk about doing shit. But you don't know how to do it until you apply.
absolutely.
Start building some machines, folks. That's what I'm going to do this week. Every week.
I'm good.
Cool, bro.